Hey guys, Keys here, back with another Bitcoin video. So Bitcoin actually did break this trend line that we spoke about last time, which was like the ETF trend line. And now that it's broken it, I actually do am leaning more towards the downside. I think that a bigger crash could continue. I think that we might not even get a relief, like a real relief bounce. This bounce right here off this trend line, which I thought could maybe even go to around 44, maybe even 45K, like kind of around these highs before getting rejected. Or honestly, even maybe just continuing it. But now that we've waited a couple more days since the ETF news, now it's been actually 10 days because it was on the 10th. It's been 10 days since the ETF news, and now we've actually dropped 18%. So last time we checked, it was at around 15.5. Now it's 18. So dropped a little bit more. I think that we could actually be seeing this top at 49K. I think it actually might end up being a local high for a few reasons. One, just that we spoke about this before and I posted it on Twitter and I showed you guys last time, but typically these like huge news events do mark a high and the market does tend to reverse off of it. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have any pumps. Like I still think that, you know, let's say we do get a huge crash to like 38K, we could like get a huge pump back up to like 42 and then continue the downwards movement, right? But I do think we're in a downtrend. Um, let's get rid of the line now that it's broken. If you take a look at the 4 hourly, I think that looking at it in this parallel channel can actually be pretty decent of a way to view the market. Um, and I think that now you can actually see this parallel channel that this was the bottom at like 40.2, 40,200 was the low, and then the top of the channel is at around 44.7. And you can see when we first entered it, we hit the top, we came back to the bottom, rallied kind of close to the top, not quite hitting it, came down. This was probably around the mid of the channel. And then we actually briefly broke above it. You can kind of see how the market kind of faked us out. It even kind of looked like maybe we were going to get a bounce off of this off the top and continue going up, but it was definitely a fake out. And what happened when we came back in to the range, we got a pretty big dump. We didn't come all the way back down, but we did get a pretty big dump. And then we broke out once again, kind of like the market were definitely like messing with people because it looks like maybe we're going to hold it again, the top of it, because we got another huge bounce off of it. But we did know that the ETF news was probably going to be sell the news, so we didn't really get caught with any of that. And then the markets just came back in. We got a huge wick outside of it, and the markets came back in. And what happened? We ended up coming all the way back down to the bottom of the range, which typically happens in ranges. And we got another pretty big bounce. Honestly, actually, it wasn't that big. Let's see how big of a bounce it was. Actually, it was kind of big. It was 4.7%. That's not too bad off the bottom. What does kind of concern me now is that kind of this area above where we are right now, I feel like it's going to be really strong resistance now. You can see how many times the market kind of hit this level and like either stayed below it or stayed above it, and it basically acted as support or resistance. Like once we broke above it, we tried holding it here, fell below it, couldn't get above it here, broke above it, tried holding it below. Like you can see every time we come here, the market tries to either hold it, actually tries holding it pretty well. We held it a lot of times, right? So now that we're under it, I think it's going to be pretty strong resistance. I think we can still cut through into it a little bit. It is Saturday today, and the weekends, what I've noticed with Bitcoin are definitely very calm. Usually, we do just see like sideways movement. And Sunday, I'm not going to lie, usually Sunday nights are kind of when the market kind of starts bleeding out a little bit. So today is Saturday. If you flip back on the daily, I think what we could see tomorrow, even maybe even like for the next few hours, is maybe try pushing into this again, but only to get dumped out. I don't really think we're actually going to get above it at this point. If we do get above it and we hold it, then I think we can maybe make a charge to around 44, 45. But I honestly do think the top is in for at least like a couple months. I do think we're going to take out this top in this year. Like, I don't think this is going to be like a yearly high where like 2024 we don't take out 49K. But I do think for the next like couple months, this could be like a local high. And I said that I think that we might be in a downtrend, and you can kind of see the start of it, right? Like, this is the high, setting a low, lower high, lower low. So far, it's a lower high again. So honestly, as long as we don't take out really like 43.5, we're probably going to continue the downtrend. I don't know how much higher we go over the weekend, but I do think that next week we're probably going to continue the sell-off, and we're going to be looking for a lower low at this point. Breaking 40K is probably the next target I think Bitcoin's going to try doing. I don't know if it's going to hold or not. The thing is, guys, like, we did get a bounce off 40.2 again, and you can actually see we didn't actually come as low. Like, we came lower the first time, right? But the reason why I'm pretty sure we went down lower the first time is because people front ran this, right? So this is pretty typical. Like, I think a lot of people were looking at this in a parallel channel, and I was too for a long time. I've been looking at this parallel channel for a while, and I've seen a lot of parallel channels, and one of the most obvious things to do is when you see a clear parallel channel like this, most likely at some point you will visit the lows, even if it's not like right at the dot. And I think what a lot of people did is they front ran this low. So this low was at 40,180, but you can see this low is at 40,276. So people just slightly put in buy orders right a little bit above it, so they could catch it, so you don't like miss the wick. So it didn't go as low. And what did the market do? Definitely got a reversal off of it. Pretty typical. Went up around 4.5%. We measured it. But the thing is now that people have made this move, this trade has already happened. I think the next time we come back down here, it's going to be a little bit more scary. I mean, we could still wick off of it, or maybe just try to bounce off of it. But I don't really think it's going to be as strong as a reaction the next time we come down here, because we've already gotten that reaction the first time. So I don't know when we come back down to around 40K, but I do think it will happen. Honestly, probably before February. Like, it could honestly happen next week, especially if Sunday opens and Monday, like, I guess like by the time Monday ends, if we're not above this area by Monday, in my opinion, I honestly think that the market's just going to continue going down. I think the sentiment for Bitcoin has kind of been a little bit more edgy. Like, people are a little bit more worried. I don't really know what the fear and greed index is right now. Let's actually check. It's at 52. I mean, this is a huge drop. If you guys like haven't been paying attention the last 3 months since October, let's just do last year, really. I mean, ever since really October 23rd, that was like when the huge like ETF narrative, everything going up for the next like couple months started. We've been in, high 60s, low 70s kind of for a while. We even made it up to 76, and we dropped down all the way down to 52 right now. Yeah, we're at 52 right now. We haven't been this low since before the ETF pump started. And if you want to take a look at the charts and see what day that was, the last time we were at 52 was actually here. We said October 20th. It's like right here. We were right here. We didn't even get... This was fake news. You got to remember. This was like a fake news rally that ended up coming to fruition. But like, this was like a fake tweet that started it, right? And it was about the ETFs. But the last time we were in the 50s, we were down here. And now we're in the 50s and we're up here. Definitely like tells you how Bitcoin works. Like, same fear and greed index, but we're like 20K higher almost, or like 15K higher. But the thing is, I do think a lot of people are starting to get scared of these markets, especially because of how high this rally was, right? You cannot forget how much of a rally we had since basically September. I mean, it really kicked off October, but the bottom started in September. Bitcoin went up another 96%, 97%, basically doubled. Bitcoin basically doubled from September 11th to January 10th. Or January 11th. Wow, literally the 11th to the 11th. So what is that? So 4 months. Exactly in 4 months, Bitcoin went up 97%, which is basically a double. And you have to also remember that this double is coming off of the back of basically another double. I mean, Bitcoin put in over a double before it, right? Went up 105%, then it basically crashed like 20%, 21%, and then it doubled again. So you're telling me Bitcoin doubled, only had a 21% drawdown, and then doubled again. And we still haven't had like really that big of a drawdown. It's only been 18%. This drawdown so far isn't even bigger than the drawdown we had previously. So I think that's the reason why a lot of people are kind of worried. That's a reason why I'm kind of worried. We basically went up for majority of 2023. And I'm not saying it can't continue. Bitcoin can do whatever, but I think the market conditions are they're definitely different than what they were even a few months ago. But it's not completely lost yet for Bitcoin, but I'm starting to lean, my bias is now down again. So I did flip my bias up here. Like after we got this huge move, I was like, okay, Bitcoin's probably going to continue rallying through the ETF news. We spoke about this like all the way, back then. But now that the ETF news has passed, now that like 10 days has passed since the ETF news, and we find ourselves 18% down, kind of at the bottom of this range. And I just think that there's, going to be a period that Bitcoin needs to cool off, especially after this huge rally. And I don't see why it can't be right now anymore, because we broke through some levels that I was looking to see if they would hold, and they didn't really hold. So yeah, guys, I am kind of bearish right now. I'm not bearish in 2024. I'm just bearish right now because we're definitely in a downtrend, in my opinion. I think we're starting a downtrend. Like the more candles that come out, we're just going to be able to see in hindsight that we're kind of just in a downtrend. I'm not really sure how low we go. I think there's a couple levels that I think are important. Definitely the first level I think we'd probably get a reaction at around is probably around like 38K, somewhere around 38K, kind of around these peaks. So yeah, maybe around 38 to like 38.5. Around 38K I think will be the first, like if we do like slump below 40K, like we start breaking 40, I think we're just going to fall straight to 38K. And we'll probably get a reaction at that point. 38K maybe react back up to like the bottom of this range, back up to like 40.2, and then maybe come back down, try holding it, maybe break down. But I'm honestly thinking that Bitcoin will come into the 30s again. It's, in my opinion, pretty likely going to happen. I don't know the path that Bitcoin takes to get there, but I do think that we will find our way there eventually. So just want to update you guys about what we spoke about the last video with that trend line that broke, and kind of the way that I'm viewing the markets now is, well, I've been viewing it like this the whole time, but now that the trend line broke, we don't have to talk about the trend line. We can just really focus on this structure, which I think could, people are also saying this could be Wyckoff distribution. It could be. If it is going to be Wyckoff distribution at this point, what we're going to see, honestly, at this point, like, we got the reaction here, like we got like one more bounce, and then we come back down, probably bounce again. That's typically how it goes. Like the ending of a Wyckoff distribution is kind of like this. It could have been what I was also thinking it could happen. Like we come up a little bit higher to 44, then we get rejected down, but we didn't, and it's completely fine. Like this pattern still works for Wyckoff, and at this point, like I would actually expect us to break down. So yeah, guys, that's what I think about Bitcoin right now. We're just gonna have to wait and see how it really plays out. And then when we are in the 30s, the problem is like I don't really know where in the 30s we're gonna end. Like, is it gonna be 38? Are we gonna cut down to like the bottom all the way back down to like 33? Are we even gonna come all the way back down to like 28, 32, somewhere in this box area? I don't know. Like, I just think that the first target I'm really looking for right now is 38. So let's just see if we get to 38. Probably will. When is that going to happen? I have no idea, but that's really the next thing I'm looking for is when Bitcoin comes to around 38K. If we get a huge bounce up, I wouldn't really be super hopeful. Like I said, I think that this is now the top because we broke this structure. This Wyckoff distribution kind of like, if it is going to Wyckoff, like we're coming down according to the distribution chart. So We got that going against us. We also got things like the bull market support band. Just look at it on the weekly. Also, just take a look at the weekly candles in general. I mean, this candle just looks so atrociously bad. That huge like topping tail. And honestly, this week's candle doesn't look that much better. We still got a day left, but look how far we are from the bull market support band, which we haven't touched in a while. The last time we touched it was October 16th, the week of October 16th. And the bull market support band currently lasts between 35.5 and 37. So it's even lower than 38. So if we came all the way back down to the bull market support band, which would be pretty healthy, and it's a typical pattern that Bitcoin does, like when it's on the when it's on in a huge uptrend. I mean, we did it twice here, right? Bounced off of it here, bounced off of it here. We did lose it here briefly, but once we claimed it, we bounced off of it again. So even coming all the way back down to 36, let's just say an average of 36, to me, it's actually still bullish. Like, it might be bearish in the short term, but in the long term, like, if we came up here, came down, and then continued going up, like, that's completely fine with me as well. So, you know, the 30s is my target. 38 probably the first one, but it can go anywhere into the 30s in my opinion. But I do think we're going to find our way in there. And one more thing, I wanted to show you guys the monthly candle. I mean, this candle just looks absolutely terrible. I mean, look at this huge tail on the month, right? Like, if we have hindsight for the next like 8 to 10 months, or like maybe even like 5 months, honestly, yeah, 5 months from out from here, like, if we do just start sinking down the next 5 months, it would kind of be obvious that this was a top in hindsight. But we don't have hindsight yet. But yeah, if this month, there's still 11 days, so it's not completely over yet, but I don't really like how this monthly candle is looking either. So that's an update on Bitcoin, guys. I'm probably going to make some on a couple alts because I think there's some parallels, and I think some things are kind of interesting. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.